Evolution of land registration rights certificates. After registering land or buildings, the Land Registration Authority issues a rights certificate to the rights holder as evidence. During the Japanese colonial period, upon completion of land rights registration, a registration completion certificate was issued. After Taiwan's retrocession, land registration was conducted according to the Republic of China's Land Act, adopting the Torrens system, and thus, upon completion of land registration, a rights certificate was issued. As times have evolved, the format of land rights certificates has also changed. Below is a brief explanation of the registration completion certificate from the Japanese period, the rights certificates from the early post-war period general land registration until 1967, the revised certificates from 1967 to 1982, the revised certificates from 1983 to 1997, the electronic certificates from 1997 onwards, the plastic certificates from 2006 to 2009, and the current electronic certificates. 1. Japanese period, registration completion certificate issued after land registration. The function of this certificate is similar to the stamp of registration completed, affixed to documents upon completion of registration, as stipulated in Article 68 of the current Land Registration Regulations of the Republic of China. 2. Rights certificates from the early post-war period general land registration until 1967. In the early post-war period, land ownership certificates were issued, while building rights were attached as appendices to the land ownership certificates or other rights certificates. Land rights certificates were divided into individual ownership and co-ownership certificates. The co-ownership certificate was held by the first registered owner, with subsequent co-owners holding a certificate of possession provided by dashi. Buildings did not have separate certificates issued. Depending on whether the building owner was the landowner or the holder of surface rights, the building rights were attached as appendices, provided by dashi, to the land ownership certificate or other rights certificate. Building appendix, record of changes in building description, provided by dashi. 3. Revised rights certificates from 1967 to 1982. After 1967, land ownership certificates were issued to all landowners. In response to Taiwan's socioeconomic development and the increase in urban floors and high-rise buildings, certificates for building improvements were also issued. During this period, in addition to changes in the paper and format of the certificates, there were two other changes. 1. To shorten the certificate issuance process and simplify procedures, in 1973, the Director of the Land Administration Office was authorized to stamp the certificates. 2. In 1978, following amendments to the Stamp Duty Act, certificates no longer required stamp duty. 4. Revised rights certificates from 1983 to 1997. To prevent forgery, certificates were made using paper with anti-counterfeit watermarks. These certificates were printed using intaglio printing, and the vine pattern on the certificate could be felt as raised lines when touched. 5. Electronic rights certificates from 1997 onwards. After the implementation of electronic operations, certificates were directly printed by computer. 6. Plastic rights certificates from 2006 to 2009. Considering the practicality of certificate preservation, our office began using plastic certificates. Later, due to environmental concerns regarding the disposal of plastic certificates, their use was discontinued. 7. Current rights certificates. Paper certificates were used again until the end of 2016. From January 1, 2017, due to the abolition of the land use category system, land use categories were no longer displayed on land ownership certificates. Starting from July 1, 2024, the Electronic Property Rights Certificate System portal of the Ministry of the Interior's Land Administration Bureau was officially launched, providing mechanisms for the production and online verification of electronic property rights certificates to assist in confirming real estate ownership. Electronic property rights certificates are similar to electronic versions of rights certificate data. They can be presented in situations where paper certificates were previously required, reducing the risk of certificates being swapped or lost and preventing misuse by unscrupulous individuals.